Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Game Over Ottawa. Unfortunately, discussing another loss, the Senators' second straight loss this week. I'm your host, Maude, as always. Excited to break this game down, despite the fact that it was not a very exciting game at all. Now, the Sens came into this game 7 points back from a wildcard spot. They could have made it 5 with a win here today, and it sucks now too because they've played one more game than the Penguins, who are in that second wildcard spot because of this game. So it could end up being a 9-point gap if the Penguins end up winning their next game. Huge game for the Predators, though. They came into this game, I believe it was only 3 points back, and now they're only 1 point back of Edmonton for the final wildcard spot. So huge result for them. They actually have 2 games in hand over the Oilers for that last spot as well, too. So very motivated Nashville team here today. It just sucks, though, because even though the Predators are closer to a playoff spot in the West, it's really just because the West is a weaker conference. They've only got, with this win, I believe it's just a couple, 3, maybe 4 more points they have than the Sens. After beating them, obviously that went up. You know, it's 2 teams here that were just kind of not really meeting expectations so far in the season. I'm sure Nashville expected to be higher up in their division, probably in the top 3. They were hoping to make moves after their big season last year, make moves up the standings, that is. And obviously the Sens were hoping to do that too, but it was kind of a case of the Sens being this high-scoring team that has trouble defensively, while the Predators are more of a defensive team that has trouble scoring. And it ended up being tonight that the lower-scoring team ended up with the victory. It was defense just took them all the way. Defense and goaltending, because Jussi Saros, with that 38-save shutout, he has just been on fire lately. So sad stuff for the Sens once again tonight, but I will get into my full game breakdown after this word from our sponsor. Think you know what way it's going to go? Make your bet with Sports Interaction. Whether it's hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pre-game, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to cash out, deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all that sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/STPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. It's funny how many times I go through that ad read and I will still manage to stumble on my words. But anyway, one thing that I noticed about this game when looking up the advanced stats on Natural Stat Trick was that Nashville at 5-on-5 really shut it down after the first period. The scoring chances in the first period favored the Senators 15-7, which that's a lot for one period. I'm pretty sure 15 is a whole boatload, while giving up 7 as well. So it was a fairly high event first period, and I'll get into that shortly. And then the second period, you'll see way less. It was only 4 scoring chances for the Sens compared to the Predators' 6. So they just really locked it down after that first period, which was a bit more frantic for them, as a defensive team, giving up that many scoring chances in one period. Not ideal. So I think the coaches probably gave them a word in the locker room there and said, you guys got to lock it down, because even though they came out with the 2-0 lead after the first period, it was could have been better defensively for them, and they managed to do that for the rest of the game. For the third period scoring chances, right now I have it as when I looked, the stats were updated to 11 minutes left in the third period. At 5-on-5, it was 3 scoring chances for the Sens and 4 for the Predators. So really, after that first period, and outside of power play opportunities, the Predators really locked it down tonight. But yeah, into that first period, first thing that I had noticed was I liked Chabot's game tonight, for the most part, especially early on, because there were some mistakes later in the game, but I did note that I liked his game early on. He made a nice move at the point, I believe, then he passed it off to Tkachuk for a scoring chance early on in the game. He was just flying out there tonight, setting things up. I liked his play with the puck. There were a couple of moments later that were not so good, but obviously we will get there. Want to shout out the Bolster in the chat. He said, most of, if not all of our big chances, especially late, were scramble plays. That is very true as well. That was one frustrating thing about tonight, is you see all those scramble plays, and it's like, God, we can't just get one lucky bounce, to get past Saros. Is just, yeah. As he also says, Saros has been a top 3 goalie in the league this season at stopping scramble shots. That's, oh my God, just ridiculous. Of course, that's what he's great at stopping, and that's all we had was freaking scramble chances. So that was just frustrating to see tonight. He's right, though. It wasn't a lot of wide open chances or clean looks at the net. Like, considering we had 38 shots, I kind of feel like probably a lot of those, there was probably a lot of plays where it was one of those scrambles in front of the net, and then we had like a few whacks at it, and then the shot count goes up by like 3 or 4, because apart from like a few specific chances, I can't remember anything that was like really wide open, like, oh my God, Saros absolutely robbed us, so he obviously played great tonight, but it was very scrambly offensively for the Senators, for sure. I did have noted, though, one really good save from Saros early in the game on Parker Kelly. He did get robbed early on, so credit to Saros on that one. That was one of our few chances that was not a scramble. And then one of the themes of the first period I found today was the reffing. Gary Galley was constantly talking about it all night, about just pretty much every call that happened. He was like, oh, I don't know about that one, or oh, something else should have been called instead. I kind of found myself agreeing with him in the first period, which is a little bit rare for me with Gary Galley. I find he's one of the more opinionated commentators, so he throws a lot of things out there that I don't always agree with, but tonight I thought he was pretty accurate in terms of the refereeing. Giroux, on the very first penalty of the game, he was quite angry about the call. He was chirping the refs like crazy, and I definitely agreed with him on that one too. They called him, I think, for a hold, where all he did was just kind of rub out the puck carrier along the wall. Like, that was just a body check. Like, I don't really think that was anywhere near a penalty, so I don't blame Giroux for his reaction on that one. And then it was a makeup call shortly after for the Predators, or against the Predators, I mean, that favored the Sens. I don't even really remember that one at this point, to be honest, but it was definitely a makeup call. It was pretty soft. And then later after that, you had Kelly hit from behind along the boards. That, I'm not really sure whether or not I think it should have been a boarding call. I would lean towards yes, but that might be me being biased. But they didn't end up calling that one. And Gary Galley said as well, like, if you're going to call anything in the first period, it probably should have been that, as opposed to the 2 previous penalties that they called before that. So, just, I wasn't too pleased with the refereeing early on in this one. Luckily, for the rest of the game, I thought it was fine. The Bolster also saying correlation between these 2 tough losses and being Sportsnet games. That just, that really sucks, being on the national broadcaster and this basically laying 2 eggs. I think we need to get back to TSN here soon, and maybe that will change our fortunes. It would be interesting to see what our overall record is in appearances on Sportsnet this year, because it would mostly be It would be most of the Saturday games, if they're in the evening anyway. We have had a lot of afternoon Saturday games too that are usually on TSN. So now you got me curious as to whether or not our record isn't that good in general, but it would be kind of funny if the record on Sportsnet was like 2-9 or something, and then like above 500 on TSN. I think it would be kind of unlikely for it to be something like that, considering the way our record is overall, but kind of just an interesting thing there. I thought our power play was a little bit sleepy overall at the beginning of this game. On that first power play, we weren't really creating much. Sanderson had to get back to make a great defensive play, blocking a pass, which that's not what you want to be doing on the power play, but lucky that we had Sanderson out there to be able to make that play. And then we get to the first goal of the game. 1-0 Predators off of a Eric Brandstrom turnover. This is a rough one for the young kid. Like, I don't want to criticize him too much. I try to be nice to Brandstrom because I feel like even though he's not putting up the points that I would have liked to see him put up so far in his career, like he's generally pretty good with the puck and with zone exits, but this is the thing. This is the one thing that he's generally pretty good at this season, and it went totally wrong here on this play. But I think the Sens as a whole, as a 5-man unit on this play, were just kind of a mess coming out of the zone. You had Brandstrom carrying it up along the boards on the left-hand side, and I believe it was DeBrincat kind of in front of him, who he could have done a short pass to him, except that DeBrincat kind of peeled off the wall. And then I think it was Batherson just to Brandstrom's right. So you had 3 Sens all along the left side wall there. Brandstrom didn't really have great passing options, I thought. So he tried to force it through a Predators player over to Batherson, I believe it was, who was to his right. And on a play like that, I know he's a small guy, so he probably would have gotten rubbed out along the boards, but I would have liked to see Brandstrom just continue skating it up the boards there, try to get the red line for a dump in, or even if you turn it over, like at least get it farther, you know? It wasn't a smart pass trying to force it through the middle. I think he really just should have kept skating there, and we got punished by Roman Josi. Very nice goal for him, but ugly looking goal for the Sens, and that was kind of just the theme tonight, was these mistakes, these turnovers that end up in the back of the Sens net. At least it wasn't as bad as last game in terms of everything ending up in the back of the Sens net, because Cam Talbot was actually very solid tonight. I kind of wanted to see Forsberg start, because I thought last game that it was kind of the team letting Forsberg down on those first 3 goals. I didn't think that he looked bad, whereas then Talbot went in, and I felt that he kind of let the team down with the first couple goals that he allowed. But DJ went to Talbot, and I can't really criticize Talbot's performance at all today. It was really just getting out-dueled by the better goalie, but only because of the Predators kind of just getting those better chances off of huge turnovers, you know? The first and third goals were both 2-on-1s. And then the second goal was just a scrambly play down low. Just kind of, it was like a 3-on-3 play in the corner where the Predators had the puck and they had 3 guys down low. And we had 1 guy on each of them. But it was, as the puck kind of came to the side of the net, I think they tried to pass it out in front. It got blocked, and Zub kind of switched his coverage to a guy who was going to the front of the net. But the puck went around behind the net, and then it was just a wide open wraparound. Just everyone kind of getting confused there. It's just another ugly one where a defensive miscue that you can't have. It's just unfocused defense. They just get beat. Just get beat down low. It was another ugly goal from the defensive side of things on that one. Back to the booster in the chat. It's been weird for Brandstrom this year, he says. Really good underlying offensive and defensive metrics this year, and incredible microstats on the transition in the game. But all of his passing metrics are especially low, which corresponds with his solid passing skills not being as much on display this year, could correlate to the low production. That's interesting insight there, with the passing metrics being pretty far off. Maybe because I have liked his game on the breakout. Like, maybe it's just that he's better at skating the puck out than making those passes, or maybe it's just also in the offensive zone his passing game isn't as good. Maybe he's not really finding guys on the cycle. Could be a bit of that. But yeah, it's just, I agree, just overall a really weird year for Brandstrom, where he'll go a few games and I'm totally happy with him. I don't even think about him. I don't notice any mistakes. And then there's games like this. Like, I don't want to criticize a young guy too much, because this will happen as part of learning the game. As an NHL defenseman, bad games are going to happen, but just tough night for him. Wish that I didn't have to talk about it so much, yeah. But then, after those 2 goals from the Predators, there was those offside goals, 1 for each team. I think that was really a key moment. It ended up being when Brady's goal was called offside, because we didn't even end up scoring for the rest of the game. It was Very unfortunate on that one because it was a great play. I believe it was Giroux and Stützle forechecking down low. Got the puck out in front to Stützle, or not to Stützle, to Tkachuk, and he had a couple whacks at it, managed to bang it in. It was a really nice goal, and it felt like that's where the Sens were going to get the crowd back into the game, but unfortunately just offside. It was a pretty obvious offside, so I wasn't too frustrated with it at the time, but obviously you'll be frustrated with any goal being called back. And it was Tkachuk himself who scored the goal, who was like about a foot offside on the play, so he kind of undid his own good deed there. Unfortunate for him. And then into the second period, we had a bit of karma for offside calls at least, because Duchesne quickly made it 3-0 about like a minute into the period, but luckily the Predators were also offside on that play. I do like Matt Duchesne, but glad to see his goal wiped out. I wish him well in his career, but not against the Senators, obviously. I do wonder how a lot of Sens fans feel about Matt Duchesne at this point. I wonder, there was a lot of people who didn't really like him when he left. I think it just because of the unfortunate timing of his arrival with the team, and the team just falling off a cliff, right after he got here. But I like him just because he never stopped trying. He gave his all every game, even though the Sens were awful pretty much right when he showed up. And I think they showed a stat that it was, this is not going to be exact, but I think it was something like 118 games with the Sens for Duchesne, and he had 107 points, which is very good production. Like, he was, maybe he was trying to play his way out of Ottawa and get that trade deadline move and lucrative contract in the summer, but hey, it worked, and he gave us some great hockey. So I do like Matt Duchesne in the end, but very glad that his goal didn't count tonight. Although of course it didn't end up mattering. An interesting stat that they showed on the broadcast as well was that Nashville is 11-1-4 is their record when leading after the first period. So when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, we pretty much have no chance. And that pretty much ended up being correct. Like, we had some scramble chances, but it was and a few odd man rushes that kind of got botched. But other than that, after they had that early lead, they were just able to shut it down completely. We had Mark Kostelik fighting in the second period, trying to spark the team. He kind of took the L in that fight, but I appreciate the effort, The Predators had a 3-on-1 in that period as well, which was another ugly moment for Brandstrom, although on this one, I kind of feel like it's not so much his fault, because I just feel like when he received that pass at the blue line, like he was already in a bad spot when whoever it was decided to pass it to him. I feel like that was the bad decision, because he had to make like a split-second decision, like, oh shit, there's 3 guys on me already. The Predators already had their 3 forwards up high in the zone on that play, just pressuring the one man back at the point. So when that puck got to Brandstrom, it's almost impossible to make the right play there. I feel like I should cut him some slack on this play. Maybe other people see it differently, though. I'm sure there was a way that he could have not turned that puck over, but it was just a rough one. We were very lucky that Nashville completely flubbed that 3-on-1. It was very impressive of them to not even record a shot on that. Billy Carter in the chat, I'm just watching this because college football just sucks right now. I don't know much about college football at all, but glad you're here watching me. I'm glad that college football is sucking enough that I can get another viewer. Thanks for joining. Tim Stützle was dangling in the second period. He had this one entry, I think it was at the tail end of a power play, where he walked around like 4 guys. Like, it was just ridiculous. Like, from the neutral zone, it was like, maybe it was after the power play ended, because I think the Predators did have 5 on the ice, but regardless, he just deked through the whole freaking team, passed it over to DeBrincat, but Saros read the play perfectly. It was a good save. But I was still impressed with Stützle's play tonight. He is our little German superstar. Very happy with him. Oh my god, the college football score is 65-7 according to Bolster. That sounds like an absolute shit show. So at least someone lost worse than the Sens tonight. We can we can take some solace in that. Yeah, I had noted down as well that Cam Talbot had some great saves in the second period. It was I think it was a Predators power play near the end of the period where they had about like 4 shots in a quick succession. So even though I kind of wanted to see Forsberg start the game, Talbot really kept the game close after those first 2 goals. So again, can't criticize him tonight. I was pretty happy with his performance overall. And then Batherson came out of the box after that penalty. He made a great play to strip the puck from the Predators player along the boards and sprung the Sens on a 2-on-1. But then the 2-on-1 happened to be Parker Kelly and Dylan Gambrell. And that just made me very sad because as soon as I realized which players it was, I knew that nothing was going to happen. And I believe it was Gambrell that took the shot and just missed the net entirely. So that was another moment in this game that made me very sad because it was great saves by Talbot on that penalty kill and Batherson coming out of the box making a great play to create a chance. A good defensive play from Batherson for once, which is a little bit rare this season. And he sets up a good chance, but we just did absolutely nothing with it. I think there was another odd man rush in that period where we totally wasted it as well. I think it was a 3-on-2. DeBrincat dropped it back to Watson. Of course, again, another guy that you don't really want to be seeing on the odd man rushes, but he definitely could have done better on this play. He I don't even know what the hell he was trying to do, but he basically, the end result was that the puck just got chipped into the corner off of his stick. I don't know if he was trying to make a pass or trying to make a shot. Like, I was honestly just so confused when I saw that. So, the Sens did have some odd man rush chances, but didn't get anything out of them tonight. It's just very sad. And then into the third period, I thought it was a very soft call on Brassard in front of the net at the end of the Senators' power play that was at the start of the period. It was just, he was in a net front battle. He was getting cross-checked by the defender, and then he gives a little bit back to him. And of course, the defender just flops instantly, just goes down super easy, and then the ref decides to call Brassard, and only Brassard. So I was annoyed on that one, but of course, it didn't end up mattering. Predators also went 0 for 5 on the power play, exact same as the Sens. So even though I've been complaining about the referees here tonight, luckily that didn't really affect play too much. Although I wish that we could have got some power play goals. It's been a rough 2 games for the power play. I feel like I can't criticize them too much because of their overall ranking in the league at this point just being amazing, being ranked 3rd, but the 0 for 5 tonight will bring it down a little bit, I think. Hoping to see them get back on the board with some power play goals next game. I know we did get one last game, but it was the Seattle defender shooting the puck off of Stutz's leg and into the net. So I don't think our power play has been bad the last 2 games, but it's just felt a little bit off. I wonder if maybe they should try a little bit of a change up, like maybe Giroux back to the first unit or something like that. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to try to change anything or if they just stick with exactly what they've been doing. I do think, though, with Giroux potentially being on the first unit, I'm pretty sure the power play started rising in the league rankings when Stutzla was injured, and we actually had Giroux on that first power play unit. So I do wonder if maybe that could be something to try to go back to. I don't think I would take Stutzla off of it. Probably take someone else off of it, but getting Giroux in there somewhere might help, I think. And then the dagger goal from Filip Forsberg. I actually missed this one. I was in the washroom, so I had to come back and watch the replay. Another ugly turnover. I think they did credit Ryan McDonough with an assist here, even though, so I guess it's not really a turnover. Like, the way I saw it was the puck kind of just came flying out of the corner, and it was just out of Shabbat's reach. He got a little bit of a stick on it, but he was falling down because it was too far for him to play the puck correctly. And then, of course, it just goes out the zone for an easy 2-on-1, and Filip Forsberg is not going to miss those chances. So it's not really a turnover because the Predators did play it out of the zone, and it just kind of got through Shabbat, but just those little defensive mistakes where I guess his positioning was off a little bit. Even though I did like Shabbat's game overall today, it was just another unfortunate error. And of course, the Sens get burned. Just very sad stuff tonight. I don't know. I think I'm pretty much out of hope. I'm very close to being out of hope for the Sens possibly making a run at the final wild card here. I feel like they needed much better efforts than these last two games, win or lose, for me to actually keep a bit of hope. Like, at least going 1-1 between these two games, because even though Seattle is in a playoff spot, they have really weird metrics. They're kind of just on a 5-on-5 scoring heater, and there's a lot of other parts of their game that are pretty weak. So losing that badly to them was pretty rough. And that was probably one of the Senators' worst games of the season last game. This one wasn't. It was a very even game overall in terms of the shots, in terms of the hits, in terms of the power play opportunities, but just beaten by the better defensive team here tonight. Defense wins you games late in the season for sure. I feel like it always happens every year that the earlier games in the season are really high scoring because everyone isn't quite settled into the systems that they have to play yet. And then you get past the halfway point of the season, and then these defensive teams start to be able to lock it down more consistently. And it's just a game that the Sens can't play. They just don't really have an answer for that type of this type of low scoring hockey. If you shut down their power play, there's not much else going on for the Sens. So, it's just Bolster saying that the Sens watched the World Juniors games that they PVR'd, and now they're going fully after Bedard. Ugh. I feel like the best case scenario we can hope for at this point is finishing you can move up 10 spots in the draft, right? So we gotta finish 10th last or something like that, so that it's still mildly entertaining for the rest of the season, and then get extremely lucky in the draft lottery. We need something like that at this point, because I don't really think we're going to be able to pull off a wild card spot with the way the team is playing right now. They have Arizona up next, which you would think should be an easy win. However, I have noticed that the Coyotes have been actually beating a lot of good teams in their new arena, in their junior-sized arena. So I think it'll be a tough matchup going in there, tougher than you would expect, because I think everyone just expected the Coyotes to be a complete pushover this year. They kind of were earlier in the season, but they've shown that they can actually pull some wins out of their asses. So I'm actually a little bit worried about losing to the Coyotes potentially next game. But before I go tonight, I had a little bit of an extra segment in mind. It's a little bit less Sens related and more general for the whole league. I thought that it would be kind of fun to do a all-star voting ballot on stream here. I've got the I've got it set up, and I haven't even looked at any of the all-star rosters so far. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to just go through and see what's going on here for the NHL's voting system. So just they've got Metropolitan Division up first, and the first thing that I noticed was that there isn't a single defenseman on this team. And I think I remember seeing something like that. It might be the same for the Atlantic Division too. So they're really just putting anyone in there. They're not. I guess when it's 3-on-3, it doesn't really matter, eh? But they've got all the options here for the Metro Division. I guess it's sorted by point. They let you sort by points, goals, and assists. Although it's kind of funny that on here you can't see the player's actual stats. I think if I click on someone, it just pulls up a big picture of them. So it's wow, if I don't have HockeyDB open, I have no clue other than just they have this sorting here. I think I would go with. I think I kind of want to go with Travis Konechny as a pick here, because he's been absolutely killing it for the Flyers this season, and they put Kevin Hayes in there already. That's such a tough choice. I guess I get to pick two skaters. There's also Jesper Bratt, who's been amazing as well. There's some decent options here. I know Marty Necas is having a bit of a breakout season. Penguins players, they're always good, and I don't like them. I never like them, so I don't want to vote for them. Eric Gustafsson would be kind of a funny pick, because he's been absolutely on fire lately. I was kind of debating whether or not I wanted to do like a joke ballot or like a serious ballot, but I feel like the idea of voting in like fourth liners and scrubs is a little bit overdone at this point. It'll be interesting to see if, with the power of fan votes, if we get anyone in the All-Star game like that this year. I remember everyone knows the John Scott fiasco. I just remember that they tried to prevent him from getting into the All-Star game after he was selected by trading him, or there was like a trade that was forced to another team and then they waived him or something like that. So it would be kind of funny if like some joke players get in this year and then the NHL just has to deal with it. But I don't know. I think I want to put a serious bracket in here, even though I don't care that much about the All-Star game. I'll be honest, I don't watch it. I never watch it anymore. But it's a fun event for the local communities that get to host the game. It's a fun event for kids to watch as well. I think in the Metro Division, I'm very tempted to put Zibanejad as well, the former Senator angle. We'll definitely put Adam Fox in there because this team needs a defenseman. They need at least one guy on defense. And then between Panarin, Zibanejad, Barzal, Konechny, Bratt, like these are all really good options. That's a tough choice, but I kind of like putting Konechny because he's kind of an underrated player, a guy having a breakout season on a team that isn't very good, so you wouldn't really expect guys like him and Kevin Hayes to be putting up a lot of points. So you know what? I will give him my nod. And then we need a goalie, so let's actually filter this by goalies, and then I don't know how you're supposed to sort by the goalie stats on this because it's still got the skater stats as my options. so I have to try. I'm just guessing who is even having a good season. I guess Vanacek, Ilya Sorokin. What goalie do they already have Shesterkin in there? So I think Kemper, Vanacek, and Sorokin are the best there. I'm gonna go with Vitek Vanacek because it's fun for a player to get his first All-Star appearance, just like I believe with Konechny. I don't know if he's been in one before, so you know what? That's my Metro Division ballot right there. We will move on to the Atlantic Division. Linus Ullmark is already the goalie. You know what? We'll start with the goalie. So they got Ullmark in there. That's a no-brainer. Just having an amazing season. I don't want to vote for Matt Murray or Ilya Samsonov. I will not vote for Leafs players. Magnus Hellberg being an option is kind of funny. The Sens goalies, I don't know if they're quite all-star caliber, either of them. Like, they've both been good. They've both been kind of up and down, but then, their stats leveling out as being pretty decent. Ville Husso. I feel like it just has to be Vasilevsky. Like, he's just the best goalie over, like, the past 10 years. Like, that's kind of a no-brainer choice there if you're not voting for someone from your favorite team. Excuse me. I feel like I have to give it to Vasilevsky. And then Pasternak is a bit... What? Pasternak is having such a ridiculous season. I can't believe that he's not already... I guess it's because they picked Ullmark already, but wow. You have to put Pasternak. Like, if Pasternak is not in this All-Star game, that's just ridiculous. So with the season he's having... But the Atlantic Division is quite stacked for skaters that could be picked, though. This is one interesting thing with the All-Star game is how they stick to their original rule of having one player per team at the beginning, and then we're filling out the extra spots because you have Nick Suzuki in there already as an automatic pick, and Dylan Larkin kind of as well. I feel like almost all of the guys who are over on the selection options, like pretty much all of them, I would take like over those two guys for the All-Star game right now. I think it's a bit to do with scoring being up higher than it's been in the past few years. You've got lots of guys who are just closer to point per game or above it. So it's some tough choices here, really. Like, I was coming into this being like, oh, I'll just put Tim Stützle as the homer vote because he's really been carrying the Sens lately. I think I'm still going to do that, but it's hard. I feel like I'm snubbing Dahlin. I'm definitely snubbing Matthews and Nylander because they do deserve it, but I don't want to vote for them. I'm not voting for Leafs players. And then like Stamkos, Tuck, these guys are all really good. And then like Marchand, Bergeron, like, ooh, so many options in this division. But we're gonna homer vote for Tim Stützle. I think I don't know how much time I'll be spending voting overall because you can submit this a bunch of times. But if I was to submit my ballots like as much as possible, I would be spamming Stützle because I think it would be very fun to see him get to compete in the All-Star game. I think he deserves it. He is quickly becoming the Sens' best player. I get why they picked Tkachuk, but I think Timmy is on the rise right now, and it would be really awesome to see him get picked to the team. Although it'll be tough for him to win the voting over those Leafs players who I have snubbed on my ballot. Central Division here. Yeah, this is another thing where you have to have one player per team, so you have Seth Jones in there just because literally no one on the Blackhawks is deserving of being an all-star. That's a bit of an awkward one. Clayton Keller is good though. He's having a good season, so I don't mind him so much being in there from the Coyotes pick. Of course, UC Saros is in there. We saw how good he was tonight. You could have picked Forsberg or Yossi too, but Saros proved tonight that he's a freaking beast, so that pick definitely makes sense. I'll see the other goalies again. I feel like Connor Hellebuck would be the obvious option. Philip Gustafsson would be the funny option as I see him there. Connor Ingram and Karel Vejmelka. I feel like those are the type of guys, and like Peter Mrazek, I feel like those are the type of guys that would end up getting in as joke votes if people rally behind them. But yeah, you got to go with Hellebuck here. Just absolutely beasting for the Jets this year. I don't know if they're still first in the division, but totally outperforming expectations. And if the Jets are doing well, it's always pretty much because of Connor Hellebuck. So got to go with him for sure. And then, so that gives you 2 Jets players in there already. And then I guess this is just auto-sorted by points. Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois just being right up there at the top already. It would be pretty crazy if the Jets ended up with 3 All-Stars, but they're doing so good that it would be pretty deserving, to be honest. I feel like I should put Kyle Connor in there because he's a really fun player. He's I don't know if I should call him underrated. I was going to say he's more of one of the more underrated goal scorers in the league, which I feel like is just because he plays for Winnipeg. Just the small market effect, but he's a really fun player to watch. I'm a big fan of Kyle Connor. And then, for a third guy, I'm deciding between McKinnon and Rantanen because Rantanen has played all season and he's kind of been carrying the Avalanche offense while McKinnon has been injured and Rantanen has had to pick up the slack. But of course, McKinnon is just amazing as well. Like, despite missing 15 games or so, I think he's still like way above point per game on the season. So I think you could really take your pick between either of them. But McKinnon is just so electric out there, the way he skates, the way he stick handles, almost like pretty much with those two skills, I would have him second to McDavid. And not this year because he's been injured, but he's kind of my second favorite player other than McDavid in the league. Like, obviously Matthews was clearly up there 1 and 2 with McDavid last year, but the previous couple years before that, I felt like it was McDavid and McKinnon. It's just the best 2 guys. So I'm going to go with him. And then we're on to the Pacific Division to finish it off. Yeah, then here the 1 player per team strikes again as you have Kadri, who's good, but not having the best season in Calgary. Troy Terry again, who's good, but yeah, you had to put an Anaheim Ducks player. Although, speaking of the Anaheim Ducks, I feel like I should vote for Trevor Zegras just because he is such a fun player to watch with those super skill moves. And he seems like a fun personality as well. I feel like he's a guy who should be at the All-Star game. But sorting by points, I don't even see him on the screen here. I wonder how long we have to scroll to get to him. What the? Okay, I must have missed him because there's no way he has less points than Ilya Mikheyev and Daniel Sprong. Where the hell is Where is Trevor Zegras? Let me search. There he is. Let's get him in there. Let's get the rookie of the year. Wait, no. Sider was the rookie of the year, but Zegras, one of the most exciting young players in the league. I would like to see him in the All-Star game. We all saw that amazing, I think it was blindfolded 360 shootout goal that he had last year. So let's get him in there and let's see what he can come up with this year in the shootout challenge. And then, oh yeah, I forgot I got so distracted by Zegras, I was doing the goalies first. So I feel like this division is really weak for goalies, and looking at it is just confirming it now. Like, I don't want to pick any of these goalies. Oh my god. Like, Jack Campbell should have been good. He isn't. Jacob Markstrom should be good. He isn't really. Philip Grubauer used to be good. Not anymore. Same with John Gibson. Like, oh my god. Demko is good, but he hasn't played in like 2 months, and he was having a rough start to the season. These goalie options are absolutely terrible in this division. I feel like I'm just going to put Martin Jones just because his team is winning. He's got those wins, baby. Even though he's got a nice below 900 save percentage. I'm going to go with Martin Jones. And then we got one more player to pick here. Lots of good options. There's a pretty... With that weak goaltending, I feel like it's a pretty high-scoring division. Although, even though there is a lot of good options, I feel like Leon Draisaitl just has to be the obvious one, right? Like, am I going to take any of these guys ahead of him? There is Eichel, who would be a good guy to have there, but he's been injured a lot too. I'm going to put Draisaitl. Get him in there. Yeah. I don't know. There's my all-star votes. I feel like if I cared about the voting, that's who I would vote for. I'm not going to put a bunch of time and energy into submitting a lot of ballots, but I know a lot of people do find the All-Star Game entertaining, so that's who I would vote for personally. I thought that would be a little bit of a fun thing to go through on stream tonight. I was actually thinking of doing this before or after the previous game, but that game against Seattle was such a shit show that I postponed it till this one. So that'll be all for tonight. Yeah, next game against Arizona. I believe I'll be joined by Matt Bosty for that one, which should be great as always. Love having him on. Really hoping the Sens can get back in the win column there because, boy, these last 2 games have been rough. But, yeah, leave a like on the video, subscribe to SDPN, share the show around if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.